Hey friends! So happy to see you again for Game 3, 100 Thieves versus Golden Guardians Academy. Last night, Golden Games Academy made early moves, but they just couldn't convert their lead.
Yeah, they found 3 kills pretty early on to the game, had about 1,000 gold leads 6 minutes in, but the game kind of stalled out from there. They were not able to close, and it's pretty disappointing, but it's a little expected against a clutch Academy team, which is just full of veterans at that time.
Yeah, maximizing there as Golden Guardians could pick up a win today versus 100 Thieves Academy, who might have some trouble given the patch changes.
Yeah, we saw Linsanity finally starting to really find some comfort on the Smite mids, but with that new Monster Hunter debuff that we were talking about, the strategy has been gutted on 8.14, and what it basically is if you have the most gold on your team with Smite and the Hunter Talisman or anything that's not the fully upgraded item, you receive less gold from lane minions. And so the way Talon Smite mid works is you're farming the jungle, you're farming a lane, you're getting a ton of gold, you're super over leveled, and then as a result now with this new debuff, you won't actually be getting that gold from the lane minions, and it really kind of neuters the strategy.
Yeah, 100 Thieves kind of played a lot with the funnels or even the Smite mid from Linsanity. FLICKR did play Yasuo yesterday, so maybe they're still continuing to innovate, but as the teams load up, let's look at the starting rosters. On the blue side, it's 100 Thieves Academy. In the top, Brandini. In the jungle, Levi. Mid Linsanity. Bot and support, Rakara and Stunt. And their coach, Joseph Jang.
And on the red side, it's Golden Guardians Academy. Zig in the top lane, Potluck in the jungle, Bobchin in the mid lane with Benji and Sheep down bottom, Coach Mango. Not the Smash Mango.
Not the melee player, unfortunately. He'll be quite a curious coach, I would say.
I think you could just say bad. I don't think you say curious.
Motivating, certainly, for sure.
Yeah, inspiring. He'll give you the greatest pep talk speech ever, but...
Draft strategy, maybe not so hot. Can't pick Fox, unfortunately, in League of Legends. Speaking of draft, though, here we go. Time for some draft. Morgana continuing to get banned a ton. I think that's 2 blue side bans and 1 red, but I believe 3 times 3 bans for that mage.
Yeah, kind of based off what Sven was saying in the last game, I wonder if Orianna will start occupying that position as well. Supportive mages that can be flexed to multiple roles. In the bot lane, Morgana can be played in the support or carry positions, and now we're starting to see Orianna not just in mid lane, but in the bot lane, and both of them have tremendous tools as both a protector and sometimes as an initiator.
Yep, the Swain ban I missed last game is still there in the same slot, and Zoe going to join it as 100 Thieves Academy's first 3. Nocturne, Aatrox, and 1 friend coming along for Golden Guardians Academy.
Yes, the return of Aatrox ban. A little surprising to see it get through to the second ban phase, unpicked last time around, and feels like not the case here. Maybe it was just some good research on the side of C9 Academy. It's the kind of thing where you check people's solo queue accounts and you see no one on CLG Academy is playing this thing. Maybe we can get, leave it up. And they did. They took the risk, and I'd say they reaped the rewards last game.
Talia ban leaves Rakan open. So that is the pickup there for Stunt. Pretty good sport champion. Seen a lot of bans today as well. But are going to trade it for some power here. Expecting Kindred. Was hovered. We'll see if Potluck does go to it.
Yeah, Azir pick probably not going to be what they jumped for in the first phase. Maybe you can make it work with some of the matchups if Orianna becomes meta again. Previously, Azir was considered a strong matchup into it, but definitely not something you're just going to take blind into Rakan, who has great engage.
Classically good against Kindred, of course, but we'll see Orianna instead. And again, if Sven is to be believed, certainly seen her stock rise pretty quickly. It doesn't take much for players to go back to Orianna, as it turns out.
Yeah, kind of the opposite of why people haven't experimented very much in the bot lane. Every mid lane player who has been playing for any serious amount of time has put hundreds of games into Orianna. Has been such a staple of the meta for so long. And
there's maybe a response here from Insanity. He certainly will know the variety of matchups he could play, so comfy playing something like a Rise here in the 1v1.
The new CGI cinematic showing off Rise, the rune guy.
It was cool.
Runes.
Rise the rune guy.
Rune guy Rise. I enjoyed reading the comment section on that video and getting all the lore details I have missed out on since the good old Journals of Justice days.
Ooh.
I haven't been keeping up too well after they started changing everything.
That's a deeper cut than Season 1 Rammus. 100% ban rate. So I appreciate you. Thank you for one-upping me on that front, as Xayah is the pickup here. For the bot lane, I have to assume for Rakara, given that Smite is Dunzo.
I like what we've seen so far. Pretty mismatched already. We'll see if Golden Guardians continues this trend. They can potentially go for the Mundo and double ban out. Instead, going for the Ezreal. Don't want to get too far pushed down against Marksman, especially with the Xayah Rakan already locked in. Yep. Respectable choice. Now it's just the junglers versus the supports and seeing what people try and ban out here. Maybe a Braum. It's looked really good so far.
It's a Benji staple as well. Certainly very comfy on the champion.
Great on it with Ezreal.
see what happens in these next phase of bans. Though Graves actually. So Levi gonna lose the jungler. Sheep gonna lose Braum, so good call there, Mark.
Go me. Can do really obvious draft strategy talk.
It's almost like used to draft.
That's why they pay me.
That's
I was never actually on stage.
That's true.
Season 4 when I coached, there were no coaches on stage. And then season 5, Peter was the stage coach.
So you still did draft preparation.
Yeah, I did a lot. A lot of hours on Friday nights and Saturday nights looking at what was going on. So.
All right, well, looks like Trundle being taken away. So 2 junglers off the board there for Levi.
A little surprised to see the Trundle ban. It is one of the highest priority junglers left up, but you have no tanks quite yet, and Kindred does just fine in the Trundle. So a little curious to see that one banned out, but you know, Levi has been performing pretty well in recent weeks. Some of those earlier synergy problems had seemingly been alleviated. Who knows how much of that was that talent pick we were talking about and how much was just the team gelling more. So we'll have to see, hopefully with this Rise pick being a pretty team-centric champion who wants to use those ultimates well to get around the map and force plays.
Yeah, kind of agree on the Trundle ban though. I think Gragas makes maybe a bit more sense there, but support ban still for 100 Thieves. They ban away Shen. That's going to push Sheep down to Alistar, perhaps.
Still a good champion in the meta. Not too bad into Rakan as well. He goes in, you Q, kind of neutralize each other's engage, hopefully, and Ezreal should be sitting far enough back that he's hard to engage on pre-6. But we'll have to see, because it still should favor Xayah and Rakan's trading. That W buff applying to both of them, still pretty nutty. And there's that Gragas you were talking about.
There
see,
he is.
You can say, good draft talk too, dude.
There we go. Oh, Heck Room, Chase. Gragas.
The Gragas. Much the same reason we were talking about it into Kindred, knocks her out, knocks everyone out of her ultimate. That's kind of why I was surprising to see the Trundle, who doesn't quite have that level of interaction. And even then, you know, you want to steal resist. Alistar's not a tank who really relies too much on their resist stacking. You always get that flat debuff or buff.
Sadly, you can't steal damage reduction, otherwise it would be very good.
That would be nutty.
Yeah, not a thing, unfortunately, as Poppy may be selected in here. Oh, it's Cannon.
Bummer.
The ultimate bamboozle right at the end.
Yeah, and I really, really like the poppies that I've seen so far. I think people are not just good at them, but playing them in the right situations. I mean, Shiro in particular, always busting it out when it feels like people aren't ready for it. And then you saw the mechanics last game, almost outplayed 2 dives, had great presence of mind to go for the level up on the dives. But not this time through. Instead, Brandini always trying to play, feels like lane bully champions. Sometimes on the GP, but otherwise you see things like the Jace, the Gnar, and here on the Kennen.
Yeah, he's a carry-centric player, I would say. It makes sense on this team especially as well. He and Levi have really been the big power points for the team in a lot of ways. Although Rikara has been a consistent source of goodness for the team all season long.
That's what's, I think, interesting about this team is Brandini has looked good for large portions of the time, Rikara the same way, Levi's Levi, and Insanity was the guy who was struggling a little bit. So when he found that talent pick, everything felt like it was coming together for this team. And so it's a little surprising that they're only at 7-6 with how many good players there are on this team. They just haven't always worked well together.
Yep, there was a 4-way tie for 4th coming into the week, though, I believe, or 5th. 4th,
yeah, because it was a couple teams above them, and then everyone's sitting at that 6-6 mark.
Yeah, but have broken out by 1 game out of that clump there. We'll see if they can take a win 2-0 the week and get even further towards those top 4, maybe even top 2 spots there in the standings. Definitely somewhere where they want to go. Golden Guardians just trying to pick up wins. Echo Fox split their weekend. We'll see if Golden Guardians can do so. Otherwise, they will remain, unfortunately for them, at the bottom of the standings.
And this is a interesting game because we have 2 pretty standard comps. I mean, the really only standout is the Kennen top. But like we were saying, that's becoming more and more meta, it sounds like, from what we're hearing behind the scenes. So maybe the Cho'Gath is actually the most surprising things, everything considered.
Yeah, Zig back to Cho'Gath as the last pick of the draft. Pretty defensive pick, but I think just trying to neutralize any threat that Brandini and probably Levi will have there on that top side of the map.
This might be a slow game as well, as other than the top lane, not too many super strong matchups. The Rise traditionally was great into Orianna. Way back, and I think it was like the Season 5, Season 6 meta, you had this kind of triangle going on where Ori beat Cassio, Cassio beat Rise, Rise beat Ori, and then Azir kind of just had a couple of matchups in there as well. Since then, Rise has been hit with the nerf back quite a few times, and with Orianna getting the latest rounds of buffs, I'm going to wonder if this is actually an Orianna-favored matchup now, because it The way Sven was talking about it, sounds like she does not have too many bad matchups right now.
Good news for me. Time to go play some solo queue.
I thought you were a Yasuo. Last game you're talking about how you're a Yasuo main. Now you're an Orianna main. What are you?
I played both those champions.
You're a meta.
Okay.
You're a meta slave is what you are.
That's the only way I got to gold. So that's what you got to do to get the LP, as it turns out. Play the good champions.
It is surprisingly effective strategy. I talk about this sometimes where way back in like season 1, season 2, I was messing around with a lot of like weird picks. I played like Blitzcrank, mana build bottom.
Okay.
It wasn't great.
Okay.
And then I started reading guides and people were talking about this top GP thing, and then I tried it and I destroyed people, and I was like, wow, good champions built properly suddenly are so much stronger than that other stuff I was doing.
That's my experience. As Potluck gonna have a good time himself, taking away this blue buff. Levi pretty late, actually stopping by his wolf camp anyway. So he's going to lose out on that one. The bounty is on the bottom side though, but maybe Brandini is up for grabs.
Yeah, really cheesy path here by Potluck. Looks like it might reap some rewards for them.
Brandini not too tanky on the cannon, but just lightning rushes out to safety. Did skill that at level 2.
Huh. I am surprised they did not go a little harder on that and try and get a flash or something. Zig was not in range for a rupture, so it would have just been Potluck kind of auto-attacking him down, and I guess since they felt like there was no kill threat, Potluck wanted to get back onto the map and start farming away. No one surprisingly went for any early scuttles, the common path being Red Raptor's scuttle on the opposite side or something like that, and Potluck went for the cheesier path of grabbing the blue and ignoring the Raptors, and then also had to ignore the Scuttle Crab. That means the one on the bot side is still up, though Potluck is not aware of that because they haven't seen Levi yet.
Yeah, Levi actually going to sneak in and want to steal away this red, but there's nothing for him to steal, unfortunately, so he's going to go to the Krugs instead.
Yeah, but he will be 3 and might be able to force a dive up on the top side after, and Potluck is not anywhere in position to defend that.
No, he's good news for him, though, selfishly. He's going to get this bounty and pick up the crab, which is pretty unlikely given the way he pathed in the early game to have this one still be available. Still, he'll take it, and we'll see if Zig suffers the consequences.
Yeah, it should be a bit of a tell that Levi should be on the top side, but Zig could not do anything about it.
Got a flash, going to have to try and get something done with the CC. Ruptures himself, does delay the play for a little bit. Now going to try and push the wave out.
Yeah, this is not really well coordinated by 100 Thieves Academy. Brandini threw a shuriken in there and drew turret aggro, taking a shot. And with the rupture being thrown out early, Zig was zoning a potential body slam to interrupt it. They're still looking for the play, though.
Yep, Zig again trying to keep on the wave. Oh, a TP topside. Who's coming in this time?
Eyes, baby.
It is Linsanity, gets knocked up by the rupture. Gonna get rooted down, but the tower shots actually might be enough. Linsanity gets a shield and pops out of the way, and Brandini will grab first blood.
Big commitment to make that play work, but they find the kill. They deny this cannon wave from Zig. Potentially, he's going to have the TP back up in time, so maybe not too much denied. We'll see if this is all worth it in the end, but they've been trying to do this dive for a long time. They're holding, they're waiting. And once again, Rise grabs turret aggro. No one else has gone in yet, and then the silence hits both men. Almost stops Linsanity from getting that shield. It looked like that shield was what kept him alive, potentially. And after that, he's going to have to go back to base. And all that doesn't really result in a big gold lead because there's so much time committed for them.
Yeah, it doesn't lose too much in mid either, which is good news, but Bobchin does take it back. Grabs himself some boots and a second Doran's Ring. Linsanity gets boots and a tier, though, thanks to extra assist gold. Flashes did get burnt also, so that play's probably not going to work again for a while. But not bad to get first blood there for 100 Thieves. A brute force, but pretty creative gank there in the top lane.
And what's nice about it is that it might have given them these Raptor camps, as he does get the Smite steal, and that's his second bounty of the game. Levi being up in the top side for so long and chased down by Zig. Kind of told Potluck he had time to go for that play. Doesn't get greedy intelligently, just grabs those Raptors, gets out of there. And he's going for the Devourer enchantment. Surprisingly. A lot of people go for the Warrior one.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty big split of difference in terms of attack speed versus attack damage.
And what I've talked to from people, it largely depends on what you're fighting against and what you need. If you're against a squishier team comp, from what I understand, a lot of people do like the Warrior. And here, there's only the Gragas, and a lot of Gragases go the Runic Echoes build, so there might not be too much HP on the side of 100 Thieves, so maybe the Devourer is not quite what you're expecting. Maybe the Warrior would have been the better enchantment. And I think it's also depending on what your team comp needs you to do. If you need to be a harder carry, sometimes you do need to be that Marksman Devourer, regardless of what you're playing against here. And With these two team comps, though, I think they had plenty of carry potential already. But either way, maybe it's just a comfort thing as well and what he prefers playing.
Well, Levi does take away the bounty, so Potluck's good run of luck is going to run out. As Sheep still trying to press forward. Haven't seen too much of this bot lane. See a lot of biscuits in Golden Guardian's inventory. Very defensive as they all dip into inspiration to get some of that lane sustained. But looks like it's working out, at least in the 2v2. Normally expecting Zaya and Rakan to be pretty potent, but Benji actually with a little CS lead here.
Yeah, definitely the case where I expected the Zaya Rakan to be leading the lane, and it feels like Golden Guardians did too, based off their rune choices going very defensive, but not actually the case, as though Stunt getting comboed pretty hard there.
Yeah, Sheep getting rooted by the pullback on the feathers means that no follow-up CC does keep Stunt alive, and no spells committed, so just gonna have to eat up their sustain.
To be fair, now that I think about it a little bit more, there was so much pressure showing on the top side for so long, and the fact that they knew Potluck was on the bot side meant that the bot lane of 100 Thieves, despite being the winning matchup, could not play aggressively. So think about it a little bit more. Pretty understandable to be down given the resources that we're having to be invested in the top side, and when your team is doing that, if you continue to play aggressive on the bot side, you're going to feed. So actually very intelligent by 100 Thieves bot lane to just take that slight gold deficit.
Don't lose too much either. Stunt with a nice knock-up does trade some damage onto Sheep. And it looks like they will force them back here. Looks like Ezreal will just TP back to the lane, given that Ezreal is taking that one. Actually, lots of TPs in this game. Rakara, Linsanity, and Brandini all with it there, and only two between Zig and Benji for the Golden Guardian side.
So now this kind of raises the question, if the TP nerfs don't do anything to competitive, do you actually keep them? Because the whole point was to nerf it in competitive so not everyone was taking teleport, but all you've done probably is hurt it in solo queue because it is clearly still valuable in competitive. So I wonder if there needs to be a different kind of change for teleport to force it out of competitive and free up some other summoners, because yeah, like you said, 5 TPs in this game, half the players taking summoner or teleport is pretty prevalent still.
I mean, it's always been better in competitive, but certainly interesting discussion.
Right, I mean, if what's one more in competitive play where people revolve around big set plays and trying to find timing windows, you're smart enough to wait an extra minute before going for that dive, right? So in solo queue where that's not the case and people are just teleport back to lane, you know, you've only made it weaker in one setting and not super weaker in the other, to the point where people are now opting for ignites and other things.
To find out in the future.
Yeah, keep an eye on it.
I agree with the sentiment. Looks like more TPs here. This time a Realm Warp. Back up to the top side. Zig getting dove again. Story's becoming a little too familiar. CC chain starting. Cannon ult's good. And Linsanity gonna get credit for that one.
Yeah, it did land the silence on the Linsanity to stop some damage for a little bit, but still the 3-man dive, no support available. And another kill, and this time the top snowball around the cannon is working very well. It was a little dicey on the first dive, but this one was very, very clean, and it will also net them the first turret of the game.
Yeah, and Linsanity, despite being a bit behind in his lane, happy to commit here. Once with the TP and top side, and again with his ultimate to make sure that the turret and the kill can go over into the hands of Brandini. Bobson trying to get this push happening, but Rakara actually rotates in here just quickly.
Yep, doing a good job covering each other's vacancies. Linsanity shows back up. After this, Rakara and Stunt will work their way back down to the bot side, and by all metrics, it feels like the 100 Thieves game plan is still working. Yes, it's not Smite mid-Talon who's going to roam all over the map, but so far on that Rise pick, Linsanity involved in both kills and kind of continuing to do what was working for them in previous patches.
Stunt there gets a couple last hits. Rakara not in range, so no worries to take those away. Bobson with the blue buff and the early lost chapter. He's kind of building up towards the first item. Otherwise, nothing really complete for anyone just yet. Still kind of working on that first major completion.
It does feel like item spikes would be a little bit better on the side of Golden Guardians. Ezreal with a tier and Triforce would be pretty good. I mean, Rakara with the Storm Razor, of course. Oh, there we go, bot lane fight.
Starting in onto Benji, who does actually get pushed away. Flash over the other side of the barrel, but now Sheep is going to maybe be left to die. Still dies to Stunt from the Ignite. So despite all that, Benji does not live. Sheep does for now, but this turret is probably forfeit.
Good reaction by the bot lane of Golden Guardians, but too much damage available. The fact that Levi had already completed his Runic Echoes from the successful plays up on the top side, had the gold bring the extra damage needed to finish him off with the Ignite picking from Stunt. And with that kill, they'll also get them their second turret of the game. This is starting to feel like a very smooth snowball starting to roll downhill for 100 Thieves Academy.
Yep. Here's a trade here. So the Rift Herald picked up and now channeled instantly in mid by Potluck to at least trade turrets and get the mid outer. But we are going to see Brandini swoop in here, and it's a perfect time to highlight the first item completion that's on the way. We talked about AP Cannon kind of making a resurgence. This is Blade of the Ruined King first here for Brandini.
A little bit surprising as we see all that time spent away from the mid lane finally takes its toll as that one drops. But I don't hate it. The AD Kennen, much better split pusher, and so a lot of people dive the Kennen lane to get the AP Kennen ahead to hit the item breakpoints and be a scary team fight threat. This is a very different philosophy where you dive the Kennen lane, get him ahead so we can continue to split push against the enemy tank who has no real way to stop that from happening, arguably. And so two very different philosophies that play out very similar in the first 10 minutes of the game and then diverge from there.
And I think we'll have to see just how much of an advantage Brandini can get in the side lane, especially if Zig is still being sent there up in CS. Has the Blade of the Ruined King now finished? And it doesn't take too much to figure out that Blade of the Ruined King's pretty good against Cho'Gath.
Yeah, and especially the reason it's so strong with Kennen in particular is the hybrid damage that he brings. Even when building full AD, your abilities make it so that a fair amount of your damage profile is still magic damage, and you see Zig having to split his defenses as a result. He has the Merc Treads and the Glacial Shroud done. Levi also bringing magic damage makes it so that he's going to take a lot of different damage types very early on.
And I kind of like this response from Golden Guardians. They're actually swapping their duo lane away from the bot side and actually in towards the cannon. So Brandini a lot less effective in a 1v2. That does kind of move power to a pretty obvious place, but 100 Thieves interested in trading mid lane turret. Lost there to the Rift Herald, so now they're going to try and kill Bobchin and take the turret.
Yep, so much side lane pressure with the fact the Ryze and the Cannon both got ahead. Rikara not getting a kill, but still getting the first turret means he has priority in the mid lane, and now 100 Thieves can push up, deny all the vision, and just kind of roam between lanes and look for someone to slightly step out of position, and with the engage potential from the Gragas and Rakan, they can basically pull the trigger whenever.
Yep, Blast Plant, I think on the left side, spotted them. Still waiting around. Stunt again, going to find Sheep. Just happy to hang out in this brush for as long as is needed. Now 3 for Golden Guardians moved into mid lane to wave clear this out.
And I don't hate the setup here by Golden Guardians. I think putting the Ryze, or excuse me, the Ezreal against the Kennen is a great idea. Having more range to farm with Qs and not get actually harassed down. And the fact that the Ryze doesn't harass the Cho'Gath quite as effectively means Golden Guardians have a good lane setup here, but they're still struggling just with the lack of pressure.
Yeah, and all this pressure for 100 Thieves will probably lead to this Infernal Drake that's coming in a few seconds. They put a pink ward down in that right-hand brush. A Stunt going to clear out the green ward that was there. And if they don't find an engage, they can always fall back with their pressure to the Drake. Golden Guardians knowing this, they're trying to find a team fight.
Yeah, no flash available on Sheep. Otherwise, I feel pretty confident he would have gone for Stunt there. They had the man advantage. The rest of 100 Thieves was still splitting the map. Now they're trying to start the Infernal Drake, but it's going to be too late as the rest of 100 Thieves is starting to collapse. Might get a fight here.
Yeah, they've got Cho'Gath. Oh, Stunt already popped the ulti, looking for the charm. Does actually get Potluck for a little bit, but damage is still not quite there. Sheep in the front side tanking up decently. Potluck diving in. He already flashed forward, but he popped a respite. Here comes Brandini, finds a 3-man ulti as he's looking to stun it all up. He takes down Sheep, but he will fall on the other side as Rikara does actually get a kill on the other side, killing Potluck. So with Levi alive, but with not much health, they may be able to get the Drake, but it's going to be close.
Yeah, 2 for 2, surprisingly, for 100 Thieves. A little disjointed on the fight. Stunt wanted to go in and blow somebody up. Brandini was not there yet, as well as the fact he was disengaged pretty well by Golden Guardians. Means that they're still able to trade back 2 for 2. And that kind of highlights why we've seen a lot more AP Kennen than AD Kennen. That flank there with the AP Kennen who's 2-0-1, phenomenal. That one, yeah, it was nice, got some damage. Luckily for 100 Thieves, they still have the priority to maybe get this Drake.
Yep, do smite it. Oh, Zig wanted to TP in for the feast. Double TPs used by 100 Thieves. Do cancel one of them as they do successfully protect the objective. But let's watch the fight that started it all off.
Good headbutt by Sheep to stop that kind of big engage by Stunt. Levi kind of splits the fight, and it makes it very difficult for them to choose what to do. Brandini gets this big flank, but Potluck gets the ultimate off, keeping Zig and him alive for a surprising amount of time, which allows them to actually trade back pretty effectively. And they get that 2 for 2 because Brandini was busy trying to dive a backline while everyone else was busy with that Kindred ultimate.
Yeah, it's interesting to think how AP and AD Cannon function so differently, even with the same ability. AP Cannon very aggressive with Maelstrom, AD Cannon very defensive, actually, with his ulti most of the time.
It's one of those interactions that I think a lot of people miss about why it is the case, because, hold on, here is Levi getting jumped on.
Oh no, 1v2 forced to flash away. Potluck still chasing. Gonna get smoked. Insanity flashes in with the stun. Finds two with a knock up there, and that's gonna be a kill on the Potluck Sheep. Probably gonna fall as well. Rakara able to snipe over the wall with the feathers.
Just way too aggressive without having any vision, really, of what was coming in there. An acceptable attempt on the Levi to get the flash right away, but they need to vacate instantly as the rest of 100 Thieves collapsed. Very easy kill there. A disappointing second death for Potluck. And to get back to the Kennen point, one of the biggest reasons that they function so differently is because when Kennen uses Lightning Rush, you cannot auto-attack. And that's not a big deal for AP Kennen, because you also get resists in that form as, hold on, another dive. Slow down, let me make my points. 100 Thieves. There we go, Sheep protecting them. So when you're in AP Kennen, you use your E, you get these resists, you get to use the extra speed as mobility. Rakara, buddy, stay alive for me.
He's got ulti.
All right, perfect. So you get to use all this stuff. You really don't lose out on any DPS.
Oh no! He had ulti.
I give up on the point. You know what? If you guys wish you could have heard what I was going to say, too bad. Blame 100 Thieves. All right, I give up. Lightning Rush good, AP Kennen. Lightning Rush bad, AD Kennen. The end.
Got it. All right, well, Golden Guardians back out on the map. Nice snipe there from Benji. Actually having a decent game so far. Manamune done, but still needs his Triforce. But it shouldn't be too far away from that, given the situation. Also similar for Rakara, has his first item in Stormrazor and building up pretty quickly towards the second. Golden Guardian still down on total objectives and on gold. 100 Thieves up by about 2,000, but shouldn't be too much more from there.
Yeah, that death on Rakara, kind of stalling out the aggression that 100 Thieves had. They were using him in the mid lane, so as soon as he drops, kind of stalls out what the side lanes are able to do. Need to be a little bit more defensive. Now with Rakara back on the map, they're starting to fight that vision control back, stun on the pink ward, and they'll slowly start trying to reclaim control of the game.
As we do have a pause. Not
Welcome
sure
back.
why, but we'll get you guys info as soon as we have it. Been a pretty interesting game so far, though, I have to say. I think I maybe expected Golden Guardians, given how the early game started, to be a bit further behind, but they've actually done a pretty good job kind of holding even keel and playing it up from there.
Yeah, I think, we were talking about as soon as they took the top and the bot turrets and all the lanes were kind of rolling at that point, we were like, all right, this is starting to look pretty bad. 2K gold lead already for 100 Thieves and a comp that should 1-3-1 and be able to find favorable fights. They actually struggled to find that pretty critical fight at the Infernal Drake. They still secured it for themselves, but it was not this kind of blow the game open fight I think both of us were expecting. And since then, they haven't really used that pressure that they still have as Rakara gets picked off, and now the game's kind of getting into this slower pace.
We'll actually take a look at that fight, Mark, that you mentioned around the Drake, because it has kind of been the only bit of action we've really had. So I'll pull that up on your screen in just a moment, kind of break down what happened here in this exchange.
Yeah, so we already talked about how Stunt tries to kick things off. It disengages pretty well. Potluck starts getting pulled through, and the ultimate separates them. And Potluck makes the decision to go in there and try and save Zig. So he goes saving Private Ryan, flashes in, drops the ultimate, and stalls the fight out. So when Brandini goes in, he's lightning rushing, flashing on top of people, and then starts auto-attacking. And that's where, with Blade of the Rune King, a lot of the damage is. As I was talking about, when you're lightning rushing, can't auto-attack, you're a Blade of the Rune King user, you're kind of handicapping yourself in a team fight. And so they didn't win the backside of the fight. Potluck's mission to save Zig worked, cost him his own life, and that stall out really allowed Golden Guardians to keep this game at that 2K gold lead that we saw, 6 minutes ago.
Yeah, we'll pop back in. Thankfully, you had time finally to deliver your point.
Had to pause the whole game. I actually requested the pause. There's nothing wrong.
But we had a recess, and cannon point has been delivered. We'll see how Brandini does as the game continues on. Zig actually doing a nice job keeping things pretty close, despite all the attention that his lane was paid quite early.
Definitely could have been a lot worse when we were talking about the split damage type he was going to be facing versus Kennen. And I think their lane setups is largely a big part of why that's also been slowing out. Finally, 100 Thieves get the Kennen versus the Cho'Gath, and hopefully they can start actually pushing him in under turret. But, I mean, Golden Guardians have done a good job, all things considered, for how the game started.
Yeah, we'll see how 100 Thieves can continue to use their pressure. Still up 2 on in turrets with mid pretty low. Should be a pretty easy threat if they can set up and successfully dive, which they have been trying to do for these last few minutes. The total 1-3-1 pressure has also been really nice, and I think Bobshin's about to lose this turret. It's just Potluck here. He's going to try and wave clear where he can, but threat seems to be a little too much. Ooh, nice ult from Benji actually clears the way, but it's not enough to protect the turret. Rikara is able to finish it off.
Yeah, and Stunt showing fancy feet there to dip out from the Orianna. Ultimate baited that one, and now all 3 outers are down for 100 Thieves. Going to be even easier to start baiting objectives. And we'll also have Baron spawning just now. So with that turret dropping, it is the perfect time to make sure they have even longer lanes to push and then bait Baron.
Actually 3 Infernals this game as well, so could be a spicy mid game as Linsanity's out of there. Wanted to be very safe with the collapse incoming.
That was a surprising decision considering how good their vision control is up on the top side. Their multiple pink words, all flank paths were actually warded out. So Linsanity should have known he was fine, but better safe than sorry, I guess, and Realm Warp's out of there. And in response to all that great vision they had on the top side, 100 Thieves knows there's everyone up there, and so they feel safe pushing down this bot lane, and Zig cannot contest the wave.
Yeah, this is with Rikara in base as well, so more than enough pressure. Able to take that down. And Infernal, like I mentioned, the third one overall in this game is up in 35 seconds. Golden Guardians do answer back with a turret in the top lane, but they are trailing still in that objective. Gold lead's starting to get a little out of hand for them, as well approaching 4K up for the Thieves. So Golden Guardians can't afford to kind of hold in this pattern for too much longer, but this is one of the things that I think is tough about playing a 1-3-1 comp when you're behind, is that you fall behind, and if they just keep you out on the map, continually behind in all 3 of your lanes, it's kind of hard to do much unless you find an opportunity, maybe like this one, to force a team fight.
Yeah, all 5 members are here, and this is exactly what Golden Guardians comp wants. Definitely a bit more of the wombo where the Alistar goes in with the Ori ball and they try and one-shot somebody, but they still have to be careful because 100 Thieves has plenty of their own engage as well.
Yeah, Stunt continually hiding in brushes as Brandini and Insanity trying to finish off the Drake, all sneaky-like.
Zig blows his Righteous Glory to force them off of it, but now they need to be careful.
Smite battle perhaps there. Actually on the other side, it is Cannon that gets the Drake. They did pick up a kill as well. Benji actually got taken down by Stunt, so he and Rikara teamed up to get that kill. Potluck also dies. That was about as bad as it could have gone for Golden Guardian.
Yeah, just as we were praising the previous Dragon attempt, this time 100 Thieves much cleaner. Golden Guardians are very split up in their contest. Benji was coming from the mid lane. Zig was already blowing his Righteous Glory at the Infernal Drake, and we talked about how 100 Thieves has plenty of engage on their own. They find Benji dying there. Potluck's now left alone at the Infernal Drake. He goes down as well. No smite left up. They still have the feast on Zig with flash available, so if he can get over there in time, he might be able to contest it. He's going to have to blow the TP to get in range, and they might just burn it down in time.
Yeah, Brandini also here. Zig going to have to line this one up pretty well. Another TP coming out. Benji going to join as well. Ulti being popped. Sheep actually finds one, but Sun going to knock him back up.
Oh, Zig flashed in. They're going to try and finish.
Yep, Zig actually going to try and finish that off on the other side. Sheep gets out of the way. Oh, he does get it. Feast the Baron away. They didn't even get the kill onto Sheep, who did escape as well. Zig now trapped in the pit, probably not going to live as Brandini and Insanity
they're too far
to chase down the other kills. They do get one, but here's Potluck and now turning it back around. Bobshin going to have to kite out of the way. Good cleanse out of the root, I think, that he was expecting from Insanity, but Brandini also Houdini'd out of there. That was a weird one.
That might have been the weirdest Baron steal I've ever seen. 100 Thieves bait a bunch of TPs out. That's all great. They try and disengage, and Zig and the rest of Golden Guardians make the decision to try and flash in and finish this, which is a very interesting decision and one that I don't hate when they're kind of getting picked apart. So Sheep plays distraction duty. Zig says, you know what, while he's distracting, let's just finish this off. So they make that call. Levi's panicking. The Orianna ult for damage there by Bobchin gets them that, but now he has no Orianna ult to kind of punish 100 Thieves, who felt like they were losing their mind here. They're so mad that they lost the Baron buff. They TP only their carries, their solo laners, into this 4v2 situation, but there's no Orianna mana or ultimate available to really punish that one. So 100 Thieves actually get a kill in a 2v4 and get out.
Well, let's see if this Baron is one that kind of keeps Golden Guardians in the game or actually starts helping them play catch up, as they want to at least knock down that outer turret there in bot lane. It's been a pretty sore spot for them these last 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, they do have enough pressure with Benji to maybe push it, but still 5,000 gold down just about. It's going to be hard to sit at a turret long enough and not get engaged on by 100 Thieves, who still have the item advantage on a lot of their champions.
Looks like Drake not up for a little while, but 100 Thieves prepping the area just in case. Brandini also back towards the top side with a Wit's End finish as his second item. Still holding onto that Jarom's fist as well, so haven't quite seen what that will transform into, but certainly a sign that he's well and truly committing to this AD on-hit style build. Bobshin just ducks out of the way of that ulti. I think Levi was being pretty optimistic with that one.
And if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a cask. And pretty easily dodge out on that.
Kind of a why not try ult, I think, as Potluck does get another bounty. I believe that's 3 there for the Kindred. It is indeed. So once again, Kindred being gated by that 4th bounty can feel pretty bad, despite some good early luck.
Yep. Feels like the story of Kindred so far today, and this is kind of what we were talking about as a quote-unquote lose condition of Kindred, is so much of her power is locked away in that bounty system that when you don't get it, you feel pretty bad. Graves does not have that problem. And so both times we've seen Kindred today, she has fallen behind and sat on 3 marks until the end of the game.
Brandini getting out of here, though, because Benji and Sheep more than strong enough to kill this cannon. Benji's actually quite strong, so I think if there is a point to look at here for Golden Guardians, it is going to be this Ezreal, something that we've said Benji has played time and time again in his career.
Yeah, unfortunately, with that Baron buff, they haven't gotten anything done, so this very much feels like a stem the bleeding temporarily before the game actually continues to get out of hand. Actually losing turrets with Baron buff on, there's not really a situation where Golden Guardians is going to get stronger this game unless 100 Thieves 5-man into them and you get a bunch of gold that way, because otherwise you're not going to have a chance again.
Yeah, it must feel bad that Outer Turret's still available, but Golden Guardians just kind of have to do what they can. Perhaps again, scaling up, maybe fighting for that next major objective is somewhere where they feel like they can win, but 100 Thieves are doing a nice job playing to the conditions of the comp they picked, right? Using these side laners. I mean, we haven't seen too much action from Brandini or Insanity, but that's because they're mostly just playing PvE and trying to drag Golden Guardians across the rift.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're saying, Benji's pretty scary with 3 items completed, so don't fight him. Put someone in his lane, deter him as best you can, and use your other 2 lanes to your advantage. And that's luckily for them what Linsanity and Ricard have been able to do. Just keep Golden Guardians from being able to actually commit a round to the Ezreal.
Helps that the hit squad is pretty good as well between Rakan, Gragas, and Rikara's Xayah. Able to find picks pretty easily if they want to. Although they're split up right now. Looks like playing for vision around the ocean that's up in 45 seconds or so. But again, I mean, every time I see clumped Golden Guardians members, I see 2 side lanes across the wrong side of the river.
Yeah, they have these brief windows that you just saw where they're able to go in, get some deep vision around the enemy jungle, but then they start getting cut out. And here, they do get the TP out of Brandini, which is pretty big in terms of stopping his ability to split. And it is only an Ocean Drake, so that's not the worst thing to lose as a result. So nice collapse finally by Golden Guardians onto one of these side lane members. Just unfortunate they can't get more than the TP for it.
Yeah, looks like Drake up in 10 seconds, but not time just yet for 100 Thieves. Insanity pushed, I think, all the way to the inhibitor turret there in bot. So plenty of pressure there. Looks like clearing out topside vision, prepping for maybe the second tier 2, or actually the last tier 2, excuse me. As there's 5 turrets to 2 taken in this game. Stun also continuing to pretty aggressively look for flanks, but it might finally cost him something. Forced to pop the ult defensively and run away. Brandini and Linsanity now team up for an objective. They do grab the Ocean Drake.
Yeah, a little risky by stunt. No reason to brush camp by yourself. I mean, even if a squishy face checks you, you don't have enough damage and teammates around you to actually do anything with it. So a bit risky. Force him to mash all his buttons and scream, "Help!" But he gets out with the help Shirelia's in his ultimate.
Otherwise, just kind of watching where the movement's going. I thought maybe there was a bit more pressure coming on the right-hand side, but it seems slow and steady. It's the macro games today. Games have been a little longer than I actually expected.
This is what happens. Marksmen are back in the meta. Games aren't as snowbally. So you might get some longer games now with Ezreal hitting 3 items. Remember when 3 items were so hard to get to? Both marksmen there now.
Not bad clip either under 30 minutes as Brandini may finally found something here onto Zig, but not enough shurikens ran out. Zig does run away back towards his turret. Gonna have to stock back up at the Ninja supply store, but looks like bot lane has some ready to grab. He'll grab the minions along the way as well.
Yep, no TP for him though, so with his Baron spawning in 30 seconds, he'll probably have to run to join his team. Or what they'll do is they'll continue to do the 4-1. They'll force Zig to TP in to go for the feast contest, and then they leave Brandini down the bot side to keep trying to work down that inhibitor turret. Bit riskier that play because it could mean the second Baron of the game for Golden Guardians, so we'll see which one they opt for.
certainly things kind of coming to another head here in the game with Baron coming back up. Like you mentioned, Zig does have his TP, so and contest. Benji also with his. Explains why he's been a lot more active than I might expect in the side lane. Face check for Sheep though. Through the ulti, looking trying to get the kill. No, don't grab it. Ult's gonna miss though from Bobchin. Does force out some cooldowns by 100 Thieves, but not the worst trade. Sheep living on a sliver of health there.
And Golden Guardian's got a really good potential counter engage there, and Benji probably could have kept running forward. You see how strong he is. The enemy team tunneled on his Alistar and left their flank open for him to go for these chase downs.
He's got a QSS as well, so he's playing without fear right now. Almost taking down Brandini. Cannon is not a particularly robust champion.
Nope, able to force them out of that area. Now they have the priority to start working some vision down for themselves around this Baron buff. Zig still has TP as well, so they're in a perfectly fine position. Don't want to force right now, apparently.
Yep, got Shogath as well. Kind of surprised that they didn't get themselves onto the objective, but playing Debate instead is Insanity. Actually on the left side there for a flank, but does move back to regroup with the squad.
We'll see if 100 Thieves learns from their mistakes about over-engaging onto the Alistar. They didn't blow any ultimates, but they can't risk getting engaged like that.
Yep, overextending this lane a little too. Insanity looking to be the target, but does pop the combo and run out of there.
Good patience by Insanity, not getting scared about the Cho'Gath charging at him, just roots him up, combos onto him. But it's leading to an awkward situation as both teams are playing the map horizontally a little bit.
Yeah, Sideline's also not in a kind of weird spot here for 100 Thieves if they do want to take the inside track pressure. The Golden Guardian should feel pretty free to get pressure on the Baron. In fact, ooh, I think Potluck had started it, but I think he just cleared a ward instead. Blue Trinket going to go over, so they will get a bit of extra vision there.
Yeah, they have 2 more as well, so there's a very low chance that Golden Guardians is able to kind of sneak this one away, but they can potentially force 50-50s or team fights if they want to go a little bit harder on that Baron buff. But oh!
Sheep caught, does have his ult again, but he's going to get burnt down. Actually, a trade of supports as Brandini over the top is trying to assassinate Benji. Does flush the Orianna. Old Zig also low, going to get taken down by Insanity. Potluck, though, rips through the rest of the team and does take down Brandini, but Bobchin is going to go down. No, he flashes to safety, but Potluck is not so lucky, and there's a Romo to finish off the kill. That's going to be the ace for 100 Thieves.
Really important for 100 Thieves there to be able to split that fight up onto multiple angles. If they were fighting purely front to back, the superior front line of Zig and the Orianna being able to provide shields might have been able to allow them to win that game, or that fight, excuse me, but as a result, 100 Thieves are able to find the clean ace, and 32 minutes into the game, the death timers might be long enough for them to end. They're going for it.
5 seconds on Sheep or so. Gonna at least go for this Nexus turrets. Right one gonna fall. There's Sheep roaming back out of the base, trying to keep them out of the way, but the Nexus now exposed. Looks like Rikara is strong enough to try and take it down. Sheep just gets exploded, and 100 Thieves in one team fight take the game.
Yeah, I felt like that game was going to go a little bit longer, but a clean ace in the middle of the map and the minion wave behind them allows them to charge up the mid lane, end that game, and 100 Thieves, despite that 1-2 small hiccups around Baron and Dragon, close that game out pretty cleanly.
Yeah, I think looking relatively good. The attention that they paid to the top half of the map, even though Brandini didn't convert super well on his leads, he was a super pain point for the team to deal with his pressure. And it's the fact that, again, Insanity, Roaming, and Levi helping out the other strong side of the map, which has been the formula for 100 Thieves. It's nice to see them continue it.
Yeah, the 1-3-1 looked great for them after they got those leads for both their solo laners. The team fights in 5v5s were still a little bit sketchier than you would have wanted them to be, but they did have a pretty hard team comp to execute on once you got into that situation.
Yeah, we'll see a little bit of that here. The game-ending replay, it was a pretty quick one. At least after the end of it, we'll see how GG's kind of botched that team fight as 100 Thieves do pick up the only ace of this game.
Yeah, watch how fast both supports instantly die, and then Benji shifts over the wall and takes a 1v1 with Brandini that he's going to end up losing, and Orianna Shockwave does not come through. If he stayed and tried to fight front to back, might have worked out better. Instead, it forces Potluck to go for the cleanup kill, which then puts the 1v1 against him and Rikara. It might have been okay if they could have won that, but instead, not the case, and then it leaves the Orianna split up on the top side to get chased down by the Rise. They were in a tough spot that could have gone a lot worse for Golden Guardians, but at the end of the day, just too far behind at that point, around 5k down. 100 Thieves find that kill, find the win after that team fight.
And it's nice to see a bit of vindication as well for Brandini. We saw some of the flanks not look so good, but I think at some point you get far enough ahead, you find a good flank on Cannon, Doesn't matter AP or AD, they're going to die.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. This is a neck-and-neck auto fight down. He gets those couple stuns out to cut the DPS of Ezreal, who's going to do way more damage if there's no CC in there, but that's what makes Kennen a bit of a scary duelist. And the Orianna, a little slow to react. Maybe Benji shouldn't have hopped the wall, you could argue, and taken that 1v1. A lot of small decisions in that team fight that weren't quite clean enough to surmount the fact that 100 Thieves had a gold lead.
Yeah, we're talking all game long really about how the plan for Thieves was to split the map and the plan for GG's was to group and find fights. Basically the same thing happened, except Thieves even got a split fight at the end to try and end out the game. So I think execution's certainly looking pretty good there for 100 Thieves. And at this point, I'm just going to say that I'm expecting 1-3-1 every game now. Because this is a team and even an organization that seems to find their style and stick to it.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the main roster plays a very similar way. Like, you know, Ryu's Rise is no joke. He also plays a lot of Vladimir, and I'm sure his Swain is just fine. So I think you might be seeing a similar blueprint arise out of the Academy roster with Linsanity playing the Roamer, Carry in the top lane, Brandini instead of Someday up there, and then a very strong bot lane that will then rotate mid once their top and mid lane get ahead.
Well, certainly looking good. We're going to step away, but there's more action coming up. We'll return with Game 4 of the night with Clutch Gaming Academy versus Optic. It is Linsanity gets knocked up by the Rupture. Gonna get rooted down, but the tower shots actually might be enough. Linsanity gets a shield and pops out of the way. Potluck diving in. He already flying forward, but he popped a respite. Here comes Brandini. Finds a 3-man ulti as he's looking to stun it all up. He takes down Sheep. Gonna get smoked. Linsanity flashes in for the stun. Finds 2 with the knock up there, and that's gonna be a kill on the Potluck. Sheep probably gonna fall as well. Zig now trapped in the pit. Probably not gonna live as Brandini and Linsanity
they're
are
too
trying
far
to
up.
face down the other kills.
Whoa.
Sheep caught. Does have his ult again, but he's gonna get burnt down. Actually, a trade of supports as Brandini over the top is trying to assassinate Benji. Does flush the Orianna. Old Zig also low, gonna get taken down by Insanity. Bobshin is gonna go down. No, he flashes to safety, but Potluck is not so lucky. And there's a Romo to finish off the kill. That's gonna be the ace for 100 Thieves.